What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I'm going to bring you a dedicated combo guide for the Fairy Tail Magistus profile I showed you all the other day. Now in this video I'm going to show you 3 combos. The first one is going to be how you go from Fairy Tails into Magistus, the second one will be how you go from Magistus to Fairy Tail, and then the final one will be the most important one, as that will show you how you can directly search either Draw and Lock Bird or Dimension Shifter throughout the plays. So we're going to start off with our Fairy Tail one being the Fairy Tail Luna. Normal summon this one, and then on normal summon you get to add a spellcaster with 1850 attack. So in this scenario we're going to grab our Yugioh of the Ring. As long as this card is in your hand, target a face-up monster on the field, special on this card, that target becomes a spellcaster. The next time that target would be destroyed by card effect is not destroyed, but you just get to special on this card for free. It does lock you into spellcasters for the rest of the turn, but that's absolutely fine because that's exactly what we're going to be summoning anyway. So we're going to be able to special summon down our Yugioh. We're then going to be able to overlay both of these and go into our Fairy Tail Wicket. So Fairy Tail Wicket, each Fairy Tail monster you control, whose original attribute is light, so unfortunately not itself, is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. Only use each of the following effects once per turn. Detach up to 2 materials from this card to send Fairy Tail cards from the deck to the grave, equal to the number detached. If this card is in the graveyard, quick effect, target a Fairy Tail monster you control, whose original attribute is light, and special summon it. So you're going to want to detach 2 materials, and the 2 cards you're going to want to send from the deck to the graveyard will be your Fairy Tail Yugioh and your Tails of the Fairy Tails, because we're going to be able to get both of these back very easily. Speaking of which, let's start off with our Yugioh. So as long as this a spellcaster monster with 1850 original attack is on the field, you get special on this card from the hand or grave. Again, you can't special summon from the rest of the turn except spellcasters, which is absolutely fine. And on normal or special, you get to add a Fairy Tail spell or trap, or a Fairy Tail's tail from the deck to the hand. So we're going to be able to bring back the Yugioh. The Yugioh is then going to be able to grab you your Fairy Tail Ball. You're going to activate your Fairy Tail Ball that on activation lets you add a Fairy Tail monster or a Fairy Tail Tails, and this is going to allow you to get direct access to your Fairy Tail Luna number 2, which is absolutely fine because we're going to be able to summon that very easily very shortly, because with your Tails of the Fairy Tails, if this card is in your graveyard you get to equip it to a Fairy Tail monster on the field, and then immediately after the effect resolves you get to normal summon a spellcaster with 1850 attack. So we're going to equip our Tails of the Fairy Tails to either a Wicket or of course our Yugioh. Probably going to be better off having it to the Wicket, which is then going to allow us to normal summon down our Fairy Tail Luna. Now the best thing about Fairy Tail Luna is that it is not a hard once per turn, you just need to be able to normal summon it, so additional normal summons gets you additional searches in the form of the Fairy Tail Snow. Then on top of that, if Tails needed to be any better, the equipped monster gains 1000 attack, but also once per turn during your main phase you get to fusion summon a spellcaster fusion monster from the extra deck using monsters from the hand, field and or Prince of the Fairies your opponent controls as material. So the best thing about this one is we can use our Wicket and we can use our Fairy Tail Snow that sets itself up in the graveyard, and you can fuse into Weaver. Now you can very easily go into Teller of the Fairy Tails if you want to be a bit more defensive, play a bit more controlled against Nibiru. But the other is, what we're trying to do with our Weaver is that all Prince of the Fairies on the field become spellcasters, but during our main phase you special on a Fairy Tail monster from the deck or banishment. You can only use each effect once per turn, and if you're normal or special summon a non-Earth Fairy Tail monster while this card is in the monster zone, target an effect monster your opponent tries and negate its effects. The other is you're just going to be able to get another level 4 directly from the deck, and that's going to be our Fairy Tail Luna number 3. Now, you can choose not to blitz your entire main deck of your Fairy Tail Lunas. Your other option will be the Yugioh. It is entirely up to you. The other is you just get more fodder to the field, which will ultimately end up being in the graveyard to then set you up for everything else you need. So as you can see, we have 4 level 4s on the field, so we're going to overlay 2 of those to go for our Yugioh, the Wondrous Magistus Witch Wardrobe. Wow, what a name. So you detach one, it needs to be different attributes, so it needs to be a Luna and then a Weaver. There we go, just move those out of the way for you. There we go. And then you get to detach material to special summon a Magistus monster from your deck. You can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Magistus from the extra deck. So I'm just going to put that up in the extra monster zone so we can free up a bit of space down here. But the idea is you're going to detach material from this. You're going to grab yourself your Yugioh. And this is where things are going to start to kick off. So that's how you've been able to bridge from your Fairy Tails into your Magistus, and then you're going to be able to burn through or build more through your Yugioh as well. Remember, Yugioh is a tuner, so that starts opening up the doors to synchro plays if you want to. So your Yugioh lets you target a Magistus monster you control and equip it with a Magistus monster card. You can special summon a level 4 spellcaster from the hand or grave in defense position, except itself, but its effects are negated. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to equip it with your Artemis of the Magistus Moon Maiden. You're going to revive another level 4 from the graveyard, so again, you're just setting yourself up with your plays. Then you get to utilize the Magistus Maiden's effect to grab you your Spenta, because this card, while this card is equipped to a monster, you add a Magistus monster from the deck to the hand. You're going to use your Spenta, you're going to discard this, it's going to get you into your Crowley, and when Crowley is added to the hand, it special summons itself. Just going to, probably should have zoomed the camera out a little bit more, give you a bit more field space. There we go. So as the Crowley summons, so if this face-up card is used in material, it can be used as Alistair the Invoker, only to each of the following effects once per turn. If it's added to the hand except by drawing it, special summon it, and if it is normal or specialed, except during damage step, fusion summon a Magistus or an invoked fusion monster. So you're going to want to use an extra deck monster, being your Renoa plus your Crowley, and this is then going to get you into your Zoroa, the Magistus. And then on top of that, the benefit of this one is it lets you target an effect monster in your graveyard or your opponent controls and equip that effect monster to this card. When a monster effect is activated, quick effect, send a face-up Magistus monster card you control to the grave, negate the effect, destroy a card your opponent controls. Now, this is where you can start opening up the doors. You are locked into Magistus, so if you wanted to, you can start working your way, well, Magistus spellcasters as well now, to be honest. You can start working your way into Link 2, which means you'd put your Zoroa here and not here, and then you've got this to go there. You can also work your way into Rozo, not to that you absolutely need it, but the benefit that you're going to want to work towards more so than not is this is where you're going to benefit by playing the Synchro, because by playing the Synchro you can get this with a Spellcaster tuner and then a non-tuner and be able to use up the Luna that can't have its or can't utilize its effect, or you could just use your Fairy Tale Machigiru. So it doesn't matter which one you go for. Obviously the idea is that this will no longer be equipped, so this will fall off. And you just get your Synchro monster there as well. And this all came from one card. You're still going to have 4 more cards in the hand. It can be adapted a little bit more depending on when you put yourself under the Magistus lock, depending on when you put yourself under the Spellcaster lock as well. But the idea is you've still got a Luna, which can give you the threat of a bounce. You've also got the negate off the back of the Zoroa fusion. And then on top of that as well, if the Synchro summon card, you get to equip a Magistus monster from the extra deck to it. Your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters with the same card type, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link as Magistus monsters, cards in your spell and trap zone, or your graveyard. So, and then if this card is in the graveyard, target a Magistus monster, you can try and destroy it. So you could equip it to a Chorozo, you can equip a Link to it. If you're playing the Awais, you can equip the Awais to it. The only card that you can't equip to it because it's in the graveyard will be your Renola. So you need to kind of take into account what you're facing to depend on what you want to leave on your extra deck or what you want to add to your extra deck to be able to play this. So this can be a bit more adapted depending on what you're looking for. The other is now that that's going to show you how you bridge from Fairy Tales into your Magistus. Now I'm going to show you the reverse of how you go from your Magistus to your Fairy Tales, and then show you that most important one of how you're going to be able to grab yourself a very nice, very important and very powerful hand interaction, whether that be Shifter or of course Draw a Lot. So I'm going to be back in a second. So combo number 2 is going to be off the back of Spenta. So you're going to start off by discarding the Spenta to grab you your Zoroa. You're then going to summon down the Zoroa, and then this is going to be able to equip it with the Artemis from the extra deck. This will then allow you to revive the Spenta and instantly gives you the ability to make your rank 4, being the Fairy Tale Wiccat. Now there's a reason we didn't use the Artemis effect to search, that comes later on, but do not worry. You're now going to use the Wiccat's effect to detach 2, and this is going to allow you to send 2, being the Machiguru and the Tails, as you've previously seen. Machiguru can then revive itself and search you out the field spell. Activate the field spell in the form of the Fairy Tale Ball and search yourself out the Fairy Tale Luna. Now equip the Tails from the graveyard to the Wiccat. This will then allow you to normal summon down your Luna. Luna will then grab you your Snow, and then you're going to be able to use your Tails to fuse your Wiccat plus your Snow in the hand, and this is then going to allow you to get into your Teller. So now at this point you have your protection play set up, and very simply you just went from your Magistus Spenta all the way into this particular field, and it's not done, because we're going to turn our Machiguru into our Link 1 Artemis. And then we're going to be able to utilize a little bit more from this point on as well, which is a great success. So what you're going to want to be able to do here is you're going to utilize the Spenta effect in the graveyard. Yes, it has an additional effect. So banish it from the graveyard, target a face-up monster you control, and equip a Magistus monster from the extra deck or graveyard to it as an equipped spell. So we're going to banish that. We're going to equip the Artemis to our Teller, and then we're going to be able to use the Teller's, the Artemis effect to grab you your Crowley. Crowley will then summon down. You can then utilize Crowley's effect to use a Magistus monster plus a Fusion Synchro Xyz or Link. So that's going to use the Artemis plus itself to get you into the Zoroa. And then your Zoroa's effect is going to target an effect monster in your graveyard or your opponent controls and equip that effect monster to this card, being the second Artemis. You can then contact fuse the two Artemis here to get you into the Magistus Chorozo, and that's going to be your additional level 4 that you overlay with your Luna to grab yourself the Renola. You're then going to use Renola's effect. Now this will lock you into Magistus monsters from the extra deck, but that's absolutely fine because at this point we're going to be going directly for our Veer. Veer's effect on normal or special lets you add a Magistus spell or trap from the deck to the hand. So you're going to grab Veer Magic. And then you're going to be able to activate the Veer Magic, that as long as you control a Magistus or a Witchcrafter monster, you get to send a spellcaster or a spell from the deck to the grave. So you're going to want to send your Once Upon a Fairy Tale, and the benefit of sending the Once Upon a Fairy Tale is if it is banished or sent to the graveyard, except from the field, you set it, but it can't be activated unless you control a Fairy Tale monster, which we will do in the form of the Tellers. And then by doing so, during our opponent's turn, you get special on up to 1 light Fairy Tale monster each from your hand, grave, or banishment. Now, keeping in mind, we've banished the Spenta, which is going to be a light spellcaster, so we're going to set everything else up that we need. So that's going to be set to the field. And then before we end our turn, you're then going to use the Renola plus the Renola XZs and the Renola main extra effect monster to work our way into the Endymion, the Crescent Moon. On Link, summon target a Magistus monster you control and equip it with a spellcaster from the graveyard. So you can equip it with anything you have here. So we can equip it with the Renola. And then on top of that as well, with a spellcaster monster from the graveyard or banishment as an equipped spell, during the main phase, quick event, target a spellcaster monster card in your spell and trap zone, treat it as an equipped spell and return it to the hand. You can only use 1 effect per turn. Now, obviously, we've used the equipped, but it means during our opponent's turn, if we wanted to, you could have put any of your other spellcasters into this card, even going for your Crowley, and then return this to the hand. Crowley can then summon and fuse. But the other is we've got a couple of bits of disruption here as well. We've got the Teller, we've got the Quick Play, we've also got the Field Spell that's still active, we've got the Zoroa, which is still active, you've got the Crescent Moon if you want to return. The benefit of having this one attached is while it is equipped to a monster, you could target an effect monster your opponent tries and negate its effects. So again, it really comes down to the situation that you're looking in. But the idea is that what we're going to do, as I've shown you with the previous 2 combos, is the combos start to evolve bit by bit. So you're basically, if you learn the first combo, you're halfway there to learning the second combo. Then you learn the second combo, you're halfway there to learning the third and final combo that I'm about to show you. And that's how you're going to be able to directly add from the deck to the hand. Well, directly add from the field to the hand, to be technical, either a Droll and Lockbird or a Dimension Shifter. Keep in mind as well, you also have Snow in the graveyard, which has got a stack of ways of banishing, and that will then be able to summon itself and book 2 cards, which is pretty nasty. So again, we're going to reset this for the final time and show you that combo of how you're going to be able to grab yourself a very nice Droll and Lockbird or Dimension Shifter. The final combo that's going to let you search out Droll and Lockbird or Dimension Shifter is Spenta plus any spellcaster. Now, throughout your plays, you can search out any spellcaster you need to, so it's not the end of the world. You just will need a spellcaster for your fusion material if you don't have the direct one. So, for example, if you already open up Fairy Tale Snow, the combo is still absolutely fine. So you're going to start off by discarding the Spenta. This time, we're going to want to grab ourselves the Magistus Renola. In doing so, we're going to normal summon the Renola. This is going to grab us Veer Magic. Activate Veer Magic to send the Genny from deck to grave, and then you're going to use Genny's graveyard effect to banish itself and the Veer in order to apply the effect. Now it's a big difference because you don't need to apply the requirements, being when your opponent activates a card or effect. You just apply the effect of it, being special on a Magistus or Witchcraft monster from the hand or deck. So you're going to banish both of these and get direct access to your Zoroa. In doing so, you can then use Zoroa's effect to equip it with a good old Artemis. In doing so, you can use the effect to revive the Spenta, but do not use the Artemis effect to search yet. You want to save that for later on, because that's how you're going to be able to trigger off your good old Magistus Crowley. So then what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to make a generic spellcaster rank 4 in the form of your Wiccat. Then use Wiccat's effect, detaching both materials. This is then going to allow you to send 2 from the deck to the grave, and the 2 you're going to want to send are the same you send every single time, being the Machgiru and your Tales of the Fairy Tales. Machgiru can then summon itself back to the field, then you can use its effect to grab you the all-important field spell, being the Fairy Tale Ball. Activate the Fairy Tale Ball, and then you're going to be able to utilize the effect to grab you a good old Fairy Tale Luna. Then what you'll do is you'll equip the Tales of the Fairy Tale to the Wicket, giving you the normal summon in addition for your Fairy Tale Luna, which in turn will then grab you your Fairy Tale Snow. At this point here, you want to be able to probably fuse first using the Tales of the Fairy Tale, using your Wicket and your Snow. This will give you your Teller, so you're protected from this point on from a card like Nibiru. Then you're going to turn your Machgiru into the Link 1 Artemis. Keep in mind that Artemis can only be special summoned once per turn, and this is the first and only time we're special summoning it. The rest of the time we're just going to be equipped in it. Now you're going to want to use the effect of the Artemis to search, being your Crowley, which Crowley, when it's added, special summons, and then fuses with the Artemis that you have summoned in order to get you into the Zoroa, the Magistus. At this point here, you don't want to use your Magistus effect. You actually want to make sure you save that for later on, because the Magistus lets you target an effect monster in your graveyard. Any effect monster is absolutely fine, whereas the Spenta only lets you target a Magistus. So you're going to want to equip the Artemis to your Zoroa, and then you're going to want to contact fuse both of these to get you into your Magistus Chorozo. Now don't worry, it's not going to stay on the field for too long, because what you want to do in here is you're going to want to link off the Zoroa now that you've utilised both of the Artemises and the Magistus Chorozo to get you into the Endymion of the Crescent Magistus. Then use your Endymion plus your Zoroa, and this will go into Summon Sorceress. You're then going to use Summon Sorceress effect to give your opponent said spellcaster in your hand, and then you're going to be able to utilize the Summon Sorceress effect to get you any spellcaster from your deck. So in this scenario, we're going to go for Drown Lockbird. If you do want to go for Dimension Shifter, that's where you need to control your graveyard a lot more with your Fairy Tale Snow. Because as it currently stands, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which you then revive the Snow. But you've still got 4 more you need to clear off, which you'll be able to do as we put half of these back into the graveyard. But that's just something to remember. Next, what you want to do is use your Drown Lockbird plus your Summon Sorceress, and this is going to get you into the Charmer's Quartet in Bloom. Now you're going to use Charmer's Quartet in Bloom's effect to revive 2 from the graveyard, being your Endymion, the Crescent Magistus, and the Zoroa. Now remember, when we summoned these cards out, we never actually used their effects that are hard once per turns. So what you're going to want to do here is use your Zoroa's effect to equip a Drown Lockbird to a monster on the field. So at this exact moment in time, this is how you're going to be able to get either Drown Lockbird or Dimension Shifter, because you'll now be able to use the Endymion, the Crescent Magistus main phase effect to target a Magistus monster you control, equipped with a spellcaster monster from the graveyard or banishment. But also, during the main phase quick effect, target a spellcaster monster card in your spell and trap zone, treat it as an equipped spell, and return it to the hand. So your Drown Lockbird goes straight back to the hand. So make sure you don't use its first effect on Link Summon. Make sure you're just using its secondary effect, because you can only use 1 effect per turn. There are different ways of being able to play this as well. There are ways that you can save the Spenta in the graveyard, so that the Spenta can also equip the Crowley, so that when you use Magistus during your opponent's turn, you add the Crowley back and fuse. But as this currently stands, we still have 3 more cards in our hand, plus the Drown Lockbird that we've added, so we're on a hand of 4, with a guaranteed Drown Lockbird, which is insane in some matchups. But let's say that this was Dimension Shifter. We currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards in our graveyard, and Fairy Tale Snow will need to resolve twice in order to do this, because you'd have to summon out the first Fairy Tale Snow, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, for example, and then you still need to get rid of these final 3 cards and these rest of these cards that will ultimately end up in your graveyard. So it's a little bit more of a drawn out process in order to do that, because keep in mind you'll be able to bring back some of your banished cards. Certain Fairy Tale cards will trigger when they summon, but that is something that you're going to need to do a lot more practice on in order to get that to resolve as you need it. But regardless, being able to search out Drown Lockbird directly is pretty insane. You could of course search out an Effect Veiler, which is absolutely fine, but I feel Effect Veiler is not as impressive as grabbing yourself either a Dimension Shifter or a Drown Lockbird. So if you were to rank the spellcasters you could technically search and add back to your hand with this, I would say it probably goes like Dimension Shifter is like the best and strongest you can get, as long as you can control your graveyard properly. Then it's Drown Lockbird, and then it's Effect Veiler. So that's it for the 3 combos. As you would have seen if you had watched each one of them through, is that each one builds up the intensity of the combo. The first one of the pure Fairy Tales gives you a little bit to go for, but it doesn't give you that nib line protection. whereas the second one gives you the nib line protection of the teller of the fairy tale, so you're just adding another layer to it. And then on top of that, the third and final combo lets you get that protection while also giving you direct access to some of the strongest hand traps in the game. And that's the reason why Dimension Shifter is currently at 1 and Draw is currently at 2, because they are powerful, as you can imagine. Anyway, hopefully this has given you a bit of an idea of exactly how the deck wants to try and play. If you want to see more from this deck as well, I'm more than happy to do a test stand video to show you the randomized plays it can do on top of it. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.